Welcome back to KCEN Kickoff here on 6 Plus, where we kick off your weekend of sports just a little bit early. I'm your host, Ethan Love, and let's go ahead and get right into the Rangers offseason. We've missed some time, Thanksgiving and everything like that. So some big things happened in Texas Rangers world. Adolis Garcia is no longer with the team. Jonah Heim is no longer with the team. And Marcus Semien is no longer with the team. And it was no secret that the Rangers wanted to cut payroll going into this offseason after another disappointing season after the World Series run in 2023. Both Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim were non-tendered, which basically means that the Rangers were like, hey, we don't want to pay the money for your production, which makes sense. Both of them had pretty down years. Jonah Heim, the worst of the two. Adolis, postseason hero, but again, he just strikes out too much, and it makes a lot of sense for the Rangers to move off both of these contracts. I'll just say right now, and this is before even the Nimmo trade, we get into all that. The Rangers' payroll in 2025 was $239 million. It has already been cut down to a projected $184 million after arbitration contracts and everything like that. So getting Adolis and Heim off the books, along with these other free agents that they've yet to sign or possibly won't sign, it's created a lot of spending money for the Rangers, and I know they want to keep it down, but they can definitely afford to do some contracts. But let's go ahead and get into that Semien trade. It makes a lot of sense, I think, for the Rangers and the Mets. The Rangers desperately needed a bat, and Nimmo is just objectively a better hitter than Semien, and he can replace Adolis in the outfield. You can shake up that outfield however you want. You can have, basically you have Langford, Carter, and now Nimmo. And Nimmo's probably, I would assume, is going to be leading off. He's a big on-base guy. It'll be good for them for him to hit right in front of Corey Seager in that lineup. And Brandon Nimmo makes $6 million less per year than Marcus Semien. He's 3 years younger, and I honestly don't understand. I mean, I understand from the Mets perspective, you save more money long-term because Semien only has a couple years left on his deal, in comparison to Nimmo, who is signed for 5 more, but Nimmo's still in his prime, and we've seen Semien kind of be on that downward trajectory, but he is still a Gold Glove defender at second base, and the Mets really needed that, I guess. So I think it's a win-win for both teams. Again, with Heim, Adolis, and Semien, it sucks to see them go because they were a part of such a good Rangers team, but I think Chris Young is cooking with a lot of these moves and kind of it signals that they're finally turning the page on 2023, and it's like, okay, we tried to run it back 2 years in a row, and we didn't make the playoffs either of those years. So to me, it signals that, hey, they're finally turning the page, and they're serious about upgrading the team and not just kind of playing off of nostalgia in that way. But I have a kind of wish list here for the Rangers, what they want to do with the rest of their offseason. They're going to need another starting pitcher. You always need starting pitching. They traded for Merrill Kelly, and I honestly did not like that trade when it happened. So I hope they really don't go after him because this is a Rangers team that probably wants to start getting pretty younger too. And he doesn't really fit that bill. Merrill Kelly's definitely at the back end of his career. And the biggest thing is relief help. The Rangers bullpen, it seemed like that's how they lost a majority of their games. It is just the late inning collapses. Yes, the bullpen ERA was good overall, but towards the end of games, when you don't have that bona fide closer, it's hard to close games out and shut the door, especially when you can't hit, and the Rangers could not hit all of last season. It was absolutely dreadful. So they're probably going to need to go get another bat. Adding Nimmo definitely helps. And so that probably puts Josh Smith at second base every single day, which he's been deserving of an everyday spot, kind of not just moving around everywhere. But we'll see what Skip Schumacher does with that, the new Rangers manager. But the first on my wish list is going to be kind of someone to replace that Josh Smith utility role, and the perfect guy for that in free agency is Ha-Seong Kim of the Braves. This guy plays shortstop, And the Rangers will need someone who plays a good defensive shortstop and a good shortstop overall when Corey Seager inevitably misses time, because you've seen it every year. Corey Seager cannot be reliable to play every single day. He's gonna his hamstring's gonna flare up at some point. There's gonna be something that happens, and so to have a guy like Josh Smith, how the Rangers have had previously, has been super helpful. But now that Josh Smith is probably going to be taking that second base spot, getting Ha-Seong Kim will fill that role perfectly, and it's a right-handed bat to have in a lineup that's going to be really full of lefties. Evan Carter, Brandon Nimmo, Corey Seager. There's a lot of lefties in there. So another free agent I think the Rangers should sign is Jordan Montgomery, and this guy was a beast in the Rangers World Series run, and he's had kind of a career fall off with the Diamondbacks, and now he's a free agent, and I think this could be a really cheap reclamation project for the Rangers. They always seem to do this with these starters that are kind of near the end of their career or really need a bounce back, and they fix them. I know Mike Maddox is not with the team anymore, but the same development staff and everything is there. And Jordan Montgomery can be kind of like that Patrick Corbin was this past year, and the fans love him. I mean, this was a big part of the Rangers World Series run. So I definitely think taking a flyer on Jordan Montgomery would be huge for Texas. And I need to address first base, because Jake Berger is there, but we know what Jake Berger is. He's a 250 hitter. So I think getting a lefty to platoon with him at first base is probably going to be best, and they can kind of work in that platoon role. So bring back Nate Lowe. I know I don't want to live on nostalgia, so I'm fine with either Nate Lowe or Josh Bell. Both of them are a lefty first baseman that can platoon with Berger depending on the pitcher and the matchup and everything like that. So I think definitely getting another first baseman, kind of like that Rowdy Tellez role was this past season, is going to be key for the Rangers. And on the starting pitching side, again, I think Zach Gallen is an interesting name. He kind of had a down year, high ERA, but this is a pitcher with ace stuff. And for someone that you can probably get on a bit of a discount right now, definitely still going to want a lot of money, but this is a starting pitcher that has number one stuff. So if the Rangers can get him, I know there's a lot of right-handed pitchers in the rotation. I would not be mad if they spent money on Zach Gallen. I think that could be a really good buy low-ish pitcher for the Rangers rotation. And I give the bullpen its entire section here because the Rangers have been kind of doing this one-year bullpen deal stuff for the past few years, and I think it's time to get serious about the bullpen because that's why they're losing games a lot of the time. So I got Luke Weaver, who's on the Yankees. The Rangers should definitely sign him. This is a guy with closer stuff, but probably going to be in that 7th, 8th inning role. Again, the Rangers pitching staff has done a great job with these relievers, and that's why they should re-sign Hobie Milner as well and Sean Armstrong. Both of those guys were great for Texas, and they just need to spend the money and get a certified closer. Look, you've saved a ton of this money by getting rid of Simeon, Adolis, and John Heim. Go get Edwin Diaz. Go get Sir Anthony Dominguez, Liam Hendricks, Kyle Finnegan. These guys that have been in a closer role before, just go and sign one of them because stability is what you need at the back end of that pen. The Rangers didn't have a certified closer the entire year. It was like a revolving door. Sometimes it was Sean Armstrong. So it was just dependent. So to have that kind of stability that you know you can hand the ball over to a guy in the 9th inning is going to be huge for this team going forward. So those are just some of my free agent wish lists, and you could probably keep it around 210 million payroll, which is still that's a $29 million decrease. So they're saving money and they can reload in a way that works. And hey, Chris Young did a great job with that Nimmo trade, so we don't know what other trades could be out there, what he could be cooking, but that's just what I think on the free agent side. But we're going to go ahead and move into the world of football. The Week 15 college football playoff bracket came out, so we're going to take a look at that and see what's up there because some things changed with A&M's loss to Texas, and then we're going to get into NFL as well on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to KCEN Kickoff here on 6 Plus. Let's go ahead and get into the world of college football. And I'm going to use this entire segment to kind of break down the bracket and kind of where we're at. Next week, we'll get into Baylor and their collapse. Didn't even make a bowl game. And everything that's happened with that, and as well as the coaching carousel. But I really want to focus on the college football playoff bracket this week. So let's go ahead and take a look. After A&M's loss, they are out of the byes. So it's Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, and they're going to be playing for the conference championship. That's going to be a really good game. Georgia at 3, Texas Tech at 4. Those are the byes. And then Oregon would be playing conference champion number 5. Alabama at 9 would be playing Oklahoma. That'd be a great game. Ole Miss, I'm so glad the committee did not penalize them for Lane Kiffin leaving, because that's just not fair to the players at that point. And again, Lane Kiffin, we can get into the coaching carousel next week. I want to give that its due time. And then Notre Dame and Texas A&M round it out at the bottom of that bracket. And I think I didn't really expect A&M to slide down all the way to 7, but I mean, I guess it's still a ranked loss, and it's like, I don't know. I just felt like A&M would still be number 6 at least. So getting into this, Texas Tech now moves into a bye, and I really want to talk about the ACC dilemma here. It's going to be Duke and Virginia. So Duke has 4 losses, and so if Duke somehow wins this game, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago in our show, it could be an absolute nightmare for the ACC if Duke makes the conference championship and if they win. Because if Virginia wins this game, they're definitely going to be one of the top 5 ranked conference champions. But Duke at 4 losses, if they win the conference championship, we're looking at probably JMU and UNT as the top 5 conference champions. And the ACC could miss the college football playoff entirely because Miami right now is out. They're out of the bracket right now, which I think is ridiculous because they have the same record as Notre Dame, and they also beat Notre Dame head-to-head. So that's kind of a head-scratcher at that point. And when you look at Notre Dame, their wins are not that impressive, and both good teams that they've played, they've lost. They lost to Texas A&M, and they lost to Miami. So I don't understand why Notre Dame is in the field over Miami. I feel like you got to put them both in if you want to put Notre Dame in, but that's a story for another day. So it's looking like it's probably going to be UNT, which is crazy because out of all the teams in North Texas, you think TCU, SMU, but hey, it's UNT doing it this year. The Mean Green with Drew Mestemaker are making a real run. So it's just exciting to see this college football playoff bracket and what's going to happen. But I'm glad that Texas Tech has moved into a bye. It's good for the Big 12 that they're still they're recognized right now as a really good conference. Definitely have surpassed the ACC, I think, in football. So we're going to have to see what happens here in conference championship weekend. Texas Tech does play BYU. And if BYU wins that game, then does BYU move into the college football playoff? How much do they weigh that? Because their one loss was to number 4 Texas Tech. So there's a lot that's going to happen in conference championship weekend. So excited for bowl season and to get everything going on that. But let's go ahead and move into the world of NFL. The Cowboys play tonight against the Lions. Actually, by the time you're seeing this, the game is probably on. I think they have a real chance to upset here. Say what you want about Jerry Jones, but he went for it. He actually went for it at the trade deadline. Got Quinnen Williams, and guys have been coming back. Diggs is coming back soon. Hooker's back. And the defense actually looks competent. And with that offense, that's really scary. And I've always been very bullish on the Cowboys. I think that their fans overrate them, and I feel like that's a pretty common thing. But this is one of the best Cowboys teams that I've seen in years, maybe since that 2016 team and Dak's rookie year and Ezekiel Elliott and things like that. And they have a real shot to upset the Lions tonight. And then, according to the NFL, a win tonight against the Lions, the Cowboys would then have a 39% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, that goes down to 9%. So this is a big game for the Cowboys. And the Lions at 7-5, this is a big game for them too, because both of these teams are right on the bubble, the 8 and 9 seeds currently in the NFC. So this is a big Thursday night game for Dallas and Detroit, both of them. So Dallas, I think I'm going to make that prediction. I think Dallas is probably going to win this game. The Lions are probably going to miss Amon-Ra St. Brown, which, I mean, Jameson Williams is great. Don't get me wrong. He did great on Thanksgiving filling in when Amon-Ra went down, but that's going to be a big loss for Detroit. Let's go ahead and move on into, we're going to stay in Texas, actually, because the Texans are rolling behind their great defense. If you have not caught a Houston Texans game this season, I highly encourage you to do so because it is just a masterclass on defense. As a 49ers fan, D'Amico Ryans used to be the 49ers defensive coordinator. Now he's coach of the Texans. And, man, he has them boys moving. Will Anderson is different. I mean, I know we talk about Myles Garrett a lot because he's getting all the sacks, and he rightfully deserves to be Defensive Player of the Year, and he's probably going to break the sack record. But Will Anderson definitely needs to be in that conversation and at least getting votes because Will Anderson has been an absolute beast. If you watch any Texans game, it's like he's getting pressure almost every single play. And, the Texans are legit. They're rolling behind that defense. And in an AFC where there is no front runner because everyone was kind of talking about the Colts, but now the Colts have been slipping a little bit. They've lost 3 of their last 4, and now the Texans and Jaguars are now competing in that division. And that AFC South is going to be a race to the finish. And I think I'm going to buy in with the Texans because that defense is legit. Stroud is back. Davis Mills did a great job filling in for him. Got to give him his flowers. But CJ Stroud's back. He's going to get back into that rhythm. And man, the Texans look good. And really, they play Kansas City this week. This is a huge game. And they could really knock out Kansas City, which is crazy to say that Kansas City might be out of the playoffs if they lose this week because that would be their 7th loss. And then it's really looking like an uphill battle because the Chiefs right now are the projected 10 seed at 6-6. If they lose, their playoff chances go down to 11%. And with the Bills at the 7 seed right now at 8-4, when you think about it, are the Bills really going to lose 3 more games this season? Probably not. So you're probably looking at, you got to have at least, you can only really lose 6 games if you want to be in. So, man. And the thing is, the Chiefs can't go the division route either, kind of like the Steelers, because that division right now is the Ravens are winning at 6-6, but the Broncos are 10-2, and so you're not going to catch them in the division. So one of the at-large spots is probably the best route for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so if they lose this week, it's looking real bleak for them, which is absolutely insane to think about. A playoffs without the Chiefs in it hasn't happened in so long. But I want to take a look now at the current playoff number 1 seeds. The Patriots are 11-2, but really, I feel like they might be on fraud watch because their schedule has been so easy. Listen to this schedule. From September 28th on, they've played the Panthers. They played the Bills. That was a great win. We all saw that one on Sunday Night Football. But Panthers, Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons, Jets, Giants, Bengals. Come on. I mean, really, are you buying this? 11-2 is 11-2, and it's hard to win football games in the NFL. But I don't know. I feel like these next couple weeks will tell us more because they have back-to-back games against the Bills and the Ravens. So I think that will tell us more about the Patriots than anything so far this season. But when you look at their schedule so far, it's like looking at the top 10 of the draft, I feel like. So I don't know. I got to see more from the Patriots right now. But Drake May is slinging it. He's making all the plays. You can't discount their play. And that Mike Vrabel has completely flipped that program around in just a couple of years since Belichick left. So great hire for the Patriots there. And then on the NFC, things are a lot closer because the Bears at 9-3, yes, the Chicago Bears are the number 1 seed, which is ridiculous to think about. What is this season? No Chiefs in the playoffs potentially. The Bears are the 1 seed. If you would have told me this before the season started, I would have called you crazy. But the 49ers are the current 7 seed, the last team in the field, and they're 9-4. So that's crazy that the 1 seed and the 7 seed have the same amount of wins. So we have no idea how things are going to shake out in the NFC. There's so much football left to play. But man, the Rams look really good. But I mean, the Panthers, they flip a switch whether they want to be good or bad. On Monday night against the 49ers, they look terrible. On Sunday against the Rams, they look like the best team in the NFL. I don't understand the Carolina Panthers, but with the Buccaneers at 7-5, that's going to be an interesting division race because the Panthers definitely have a shot there at 7-6. So that's kind of like a Steelers-Ravens situation where they can definitely get in just by winning the division. And Tampa's been on a bit of a slide right now, but they do play New Orleans this week, so that'll probably be a win for them. Another great game this week, the Eagles and the Chargers, both 2 playoff teams are in right now. The Eagles have been sliding a little bit. The offensive coordinator's house got egged, which is kind of crazy. But the Eagles look pretty good, so I'm just very excited to see how the playoff picture works out. Before we go, I just want to give a fantasy update. We are in our last regular season week of fantasy football here at the station. And we have playoff teams that are clinched. Madison has clinched. Bailey has clinched. Our assistant news director, Matt, has clinched. I have clinched. I'm currently in 4th place at 9-4. Brandon has clinched, and Matt Farrell has clinched. So there are 2 more spots that need to be clinched, and it's looking like Sarah is going to get one of them, and Jacob is going to get the last spot. So we'll see what happens this week. Brendan has an outside chance to make it. He only has an 8% playoff chance, though. So it's looking like it's probably going to be Sarah and Jacob, and we'll update you guys weekly on what's happening in our fantasy playoffs. So we'll see who gets all the bragging rights and glory in that. But for this weekend, college football season is over, unfortunately, for Central Texas. Well, not over for A&M, but for Baylor it is. And so we'll wait for the college football playoff, how that shakes out, and see who A&M is going to be hosting. But it's looking like it's going to be Notre Dame right now. And then we will get you to Sunday Night Football on KCEN, which is going to beat Texans Chiefs. We talked about that game just a little bit. And so, again, I don't know. Kansas City, backs against the wall. I wouldn't bet against them, but the Texans have looked really scary. And watch out for Will Anderson. That's my player to watch. If you're going to watch the Chiefs offense, just watch Will Anderson on defense. He's going to absolutely cook, as he has every single game this season. But that's all I got for you this week on KCEN Kickoff. Until next time, we'll see you.
Coming up, Week 14 of Sunday Night Football, and we've got a great one. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Texans. The Texans are on a roll, and the Chiefs are in the hunt for the playoffs. So what needs to happen in this one?
I'm excited for this one. This Houston Texans defense is going to come in and say, we got to get to Patrick Mahomes as much as possible. I want to see if they could get that done.
I think they can get it done. But I love what Kansas City's been doing lately. They get some of their guys back. They're better on offense than they've been all year long. And I like Kansas City's defense against Houston's offense. Kansas City matches up well with these guys.
All right, we'll see if the Chiefs can get above 500 on Sunday Night Football. We'll get you started with Football Night in America on NBC and Peacock at 7 Eastern.